When Captain America takes his final stand against the Outer Circle, Steve Rogers sets his sights on releasing the world from the Century Games' influence. But will the cost of victory be too much for him to bear? Well, let's hop into the pages of Captain America Finale Issue Number 1, the grand finale of the Kelly and Lanzig era on the Star-Spangled Man. Alrighty then, so it's been a couple months since our last Captain America video, and chances are you probably forgot that this series wasn't done yet. I know I did. I had theorized with the incoming brand new run from J. Michael Straczynski that Kelly and Lanzig might have been asked to wrap this one up quicker than they had originally intended to, and you know what? Just one page into this final issue, and I think they pretty much 100% confirm it for you. You see, Bucky the Revolution is sitting around with the other members of the Outer Circle. They say that their game has finally come to an end, and much quicker than any of them could possibly have imagined, wink, and that despite all their amazing power, machinations, and resources, everything has devolved into a dull and redundant pissing contest, and oh my god, you cannot tell me that that is the writers not making meta-commentary about how their book has come to an end. So how do the members of the Outer Circle actually choose to make the most of their final moves? Well, mostly they all decide to turtle up, using their fortune to hire an army of supervillain mercenaries or create killer robots, all to protect them from the coming of Captain America and the invaders. Well, all except for the Love, one of the many characters whose backstory and origin we never actually got. She decides to just get up and leave, which there's actually a pretty good joke in there about how the Love has never won the Century game before and probably never will because Love doesn't conquer all, but in this case maybe it does because Love was the only member of the Outer Circle who knew that Bucky only killed the old Revolution so that he could join the Outer Circle and bring them down from the inside, and that's basically what ends up happening. Now, as we check on in with Steve, him, Destroyer, and the redacted robot, who at the end of the previous issue had actually taken up the mantle of Nomad, fight their way inside the Shadow Capital. Steve remarks how all this chaos and all this gunfire actually makes him kind of nostalgic for his days in the war, fighting shoulder to shoulder with the likes of Namor and the Human Torch. How it was those moments that shaped him into the man and the hero he is now, fighting the good fight against insurmountable odds. And indeed, the odds are stacked against the heroes right now. Once they fight their way past the supervillain hired help, they come face to face with the army of killbots. The Machine, no doubt feeling that after all the turnaround they've had from all of their regular grunts, it's probably a good time to start building soldiers that don't talk back. Nomad and Sharon decide to distract the goons so that Steve can actually get on inside and deal with this problem. It's also around this time too Ian, the brand new King of Dimension Z, comes on through with his brand new Howling Commandos, an army of werewolf soldiers based on Capwolf. This is only one page, by the way. We had a whole event dealing with Ian, and this is all he ends up doing in the big finale. Also, if you're like me and starting to get the sneaking suspicion that some stuff was cut for time, well, keep that feeling in the back of your mind because you ain't seen nothing yet. We see the Machine actually upload her consciousness from her human body into a big giant mechanical octopus so she can have a one-on-one confrontation with Captain America. She also essentially blurts out her origin story, how once upon a time she was a brilliant scientist, probably from Wakanda, and also the mother of Dr. Daniel, the person who made Steve's shield in the first place, but who felt guilty about the Outer Circle and his mother trying to steal and co-opt the image of Captain America, and as such he put a kill code inside the shield itself in order to bring down his own mother and the Shadow Capital. That sounds like it was probably meant to be a compelling story before it had to get abridged and truncated for this finale, right? Cap throws his shield into the Machine, saying that the Outer Circle never owned his shield, never owned the image of America that has always belonged to people because they're not machines, they're free. This proves to be just enough to have the Shadow Capital start self-destructing all around them, meaning that Bucky has to actually escape the Century Game Room. On his way out, the Money, who gets his real name revealed here but not his origin story, actually gets taken out not by falling debris but by the Love's cat, who she had previously gifted Bucky in his special focus issue. And again, I feel like there's a whole other story going on here that we never got to see and probably never will now. The Shadow Capital crashes down to Earth in a giant fireball, leaving only the Power left alive, and I guess it makes sense for him to be the final villain as he was the one that Steve and the rest of the heroes fought the most in this. The big finale sees a giant restaging of Bucky shooting the Revolution, only now with the Power in the Revolution's place. Revolution tries to goad Bucky into shooting him and admonishes Steve for allowing the behavior of such a clear and present cold-blooded murderer. Captain America turns it around by saying that he easily could have stopped Bucky anytime he wanted, but that he's not going to stop him in this situation because he loves and trusts his friend enough to do the right thing and make up for past sins. Bucky won't kill the Revolution, but they can't exactly just throw him in jail, so instead they decide to do something really out of left field. You see, it turns out the Power's real last name is Fortunov, and apparently thousands of years ago his family were actually the ruling royals in Latveria. So Captain America and Winter Soldier decide to cart him off to Latveria so he can face Doctor Doom's own personal justice. Again, that sounds like there was a whole other story here that we never got the chance to see, and that's a shame because I would have actually liked to learn a lot more about the Power's connection to Latverian history, but oh well. And yeah, with that, the day is saved. The Sentry game is ended, the Shadow Capital is destroyed, the Outer Circle is spread to the winds, and the comic actually ends the way it began, with Steve Rogers going for a jog throughout his little New York neighborhood, only this time all of his friends join him. As he leaves us with one last little monologue talking about the meaning of truth and loyalty and courage, and basically all the stuff he was questioning at the beginning of the series. And yeah, that's where Captain America Finale issue number 1 comes to an end, everybody. What did I think of it? Kind of feels like the creative team in this one were put in a really impossible position where they were forced to wrap up a story wherein there was clearly so very much story left to tell. And instead of making any cuts or compromising their vision, they just said, screw it, let's just do the ending we would have done anyway, even if it doesn't make any sense. And even if we just get a conga line of revelations about characters that end up ultimately not meaning anything because they're disposed of seconds later. It's a real shame too, because I thought this series was moving from strength to strength, and it was probably the most I had been enjoying the Captain America book since the Nick Spencer years. Every issue felt important, the Outer Circle felt like actually interesting villains that I would have liked to have learned more about, and yet I didn't really get that, did I? In fact, this entire century-spanning conspiracy Captain America manages to dismantle in about an afternoon. Now granted, this might not really be the end because it's already been announced that Lanzing and Kelly are going to be moving over to writing the Thunderbolts book, and Bucky is going to be a major fixture over there, so hopefully they can wrap up some hanging plot threads there. And I hope they do, because this finale left me feeling a little unsatisfied. Not to say that it's not a perfectly okay issue in and of itself, but it's just that. It's okay when it could have been great. It could have been excellent. And now whenever I think of this run, I am only ever going to think of it in terms of what could have been. Honestly, it's a little unfair to Lanzing and Kelly, and it's kind of unfair to Michael J. Straczynski too, because now I'm going to be judging his brand new series that much harshly because it's so clear that this one had to end before its time to make way for whatever he has planned. Overall, I guess I would give this one a 7 out of 10. It's an ending, it's not the ending I wanted, but I enjoyed the ride enough to see it through to its conclusion, and you know, it's not like it ended on a wet fart or anything. Even just calling the book Captain America Finale reeks of Marvel thinking that people wouldn't even remember this book enough to actually go back and see how it all ended unless they slapped finale on it. It's a shame. I think we all deserved a little better. Hey there everyone, it's your old pal Cape Joel again, thanking you so much for watching to the end of the video. I hope you enjoyed it, and if you did, why not check out my Amazon link down in the description. Yes, that's right, the Cape Joel channel officially has its own Amazon storefront now. You can pick up a comic or anything else for that matter, and if you did, you'd really be helping me in the channel. So with that out of the way everyone, I will see you again next time. Bye-bye.